And congratulations to all of you for what I think has been a great year. I'd like to take this moment to thank all the faculty for the part they played in helping you get here, and in many cases it was no small role. So faculty, thank you very much. Great job. As has become a tradition, is to have a faculty or an alum come up and say a few words of encouragement, admonition, farewell, or whatever at this dinner. And it's a great opportunity to sort of draw to a close a successful year, which I think we can say in many ways we've all had. Tonight's speaker is a man of unusual talents. I won't go in because his years of experience and diversity speak for themselves. I will say this, and it's true. Our older son, who graduated in 1992, made a statement about this teacher, and he said, "I really learned how to write when I had Mr. Mandler." So tonight's speaker, a man of 40 years, Mr. J.P. Mandler.
Thanks, Tom. First, I want to thank the staff of the Canterbury and the class of 2011 for recognizing my 40 years service to the school and its students. I was surprised, humbled, and grateful. Thank you. I arrived in the fall of 1970. During that year, I taught 2 sections of French and 2 of English. I coached JV soccer and JV ice hockey. They told me I didn't have to know anything. And then JV and varsity lacrosse as an assistant. I coached hockey in a rink that used to be outside just north of the aquatic center. And as soon as the sun hit the ice, it melted in the afternoon. I lived in the Duffy, then known as North House, dorm, and in those days we were on duty every night, 7 nights a week. Basically, JV teams played on Wednesdays and varsity teams played on Saturdays, so we didn't play as many games as you have now. Our soccer team went 8-2 that year, losing 1 game to Cranwell, coached by an upstart named Shea. Sometimes when I think back on those days, it seems like only yesterday. We were then a school of about 240 all boys and mostly boarders. Of the 85 graduates that year, only 8 were day students, and 2 of those were faculty kids who lived on campus. Downtown New Milford was pretty much off bounds for all students. On Sunday afternoons, students could sign out from the dorm to go to Kahn's Dairy Bar out on 202 for burger, fries, and a Coke. In those days, we didn't even think twice of having students cross 202. Today, you take your life in your hands doing that. I'm told that Canterbury makes up a good chunk of Jimmy's business. Jimmy would have been out of business in 1971. Students could order food from off campus once a week on pizza night. Each dorm had a designated pizza night. North House had Friday. On that night, a student from the dorm would gather money at dinner and then call in the order. And the pizza guy would come up at 9:30 and bring the pizzas into the common room. Kids would dive into it because they had to stuff their faces, get ready for bed, and have lights out by 10. There were no Saturday classes. On Saturdays, a teacher from each department was available in a classroom for extra help from 8 to 11 a.m. Students could choose to go to the sessions, or teachers could require attendance. Many students slept in. In the year before my arrival, all meals, including breakfasts, were family-style sit-downs with assigned seating, faculty at each table, 21 meals a week. In my first year, the school became liberal, and we had non-sit-down breakfasts, but we still had sit-down lunches and sit-down dinners. At the end of meals, there would be faculty coffee in the common room of Duffy at the end of the meal, and it was very nice, very nice. Students everywhere complain about food. Our current staff is excellent. Our food is wonderful. 1970, not so much. It was sometimes mostly just barely edible. And I'm generous. On one notable occasion, we had a dish called Hawaiian veal, which required some deftness in mixing milk and pineapple juice. And if you didn't do it just right, everything curdled. It did curdle. They brought it to the table, and no one could eat it, except Rod Clark. Also about food, Jim Shea, now retired after a long career, joked that the single best addition to Canterbury in his years was the addition of the salad bar. There were 30 on the faculty in those days, 30 people, counting administrators and the headmaster, Walter Sheehan. 29 of the 30 were men. Gilda Martin was the only woman on staff. The faculty now numbers almost 90, more than half of whom are women. And 80% probably of the faculty smoked. They smoked everywhere. Even students could smoke in the butt room in the basement of one of the dorms. But just as the school was very different in '70, some things have not changed. I had taught at 2 schools before coming to Canterbury. As I stumbled through my first year, I found the place to be very welcoming. The faculty were friendly to one another, and I found they were especially open to me as a rookie. There were a number of young teachers, as there are now, and we had lots of laughs in the faculty room. Most teachers were kind to each other and to the students as well. I discovered that the students were also open and accepting of both their peers and the faculty. Students treated each other with greater acceptance here than had been the case at other schools where I had taught. There was a sense at Canterbury that students could be themselves and still have a place in school life. Students celebrated peers who did well in all areas, and those students who didn't have particular strengths to celebrate were given space to develop their strengths and to develop passions. But they were still respected for being who they were and given that space. You didn't have to be a particular kind of student or kid to belong at Canterbury. You could just be yourself. I really like that aspect of the school. The same kind of attitude by the school toward teachers gave me space to develop and teach courses that I loved, teach writers and works that I knew well and could inspire students to enjoy. I was encouraged to take chances, take charge, make my own way. Some might call the school's attitude one of benign neglect. I learned help was available if I wanted it. But I learned, too, that no one could make learning happen in my classroom but me. I enjoyed a freedom within a structure of expectation that helped me grow. I have continued to enjoy that freedom in my teaching. That's not changed. So I came to a school where the students like each other and respect each other, a school that encouraged me to show some passion about literature, to develop methods to communicate not only course material, but to transmit the passion that I felt for good literature to the students. Robert Frost said once in a lecture about writing poems, "You have freedom when you're easy in your harness." Canterbury has given me a good harness that I have felt easy in from the beginning. For me, that freedom abides and has not changed amid the changes of 40 years. Thank you.